Welcome to Industry Insights with Route Consultant, your front row seat to the fast-moving world of logistics and beyond. Each week, we bring you game-changing insights, real-world strategies, and fresh perspectives to fuel smarter investments and build stronger businesses. Join us as we sit down with expert guests to explore emerging trends and pressing topics across a wide range of industries. This is Industry Insights. We have Dave and Amy Byers here again, and this time it's a little bit of a hard conversation, but I think it's a really important one, especially for current contractors, but also for new people who are looking at the space and trying to understand it for the first time. I really think you will sometimes hear a message either on the internet or from people you talk to that this space, there's really negative things happening, or that it's far more difficult and everybody's failing. I hear that message or I see that message in like a Facebook group. So can you just talk a little bit about what your mindset is and how you think about those types of messages in the kind of public contractor community?
So I think our message in general is that nothing's easy.
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur and owning your own business is definitely not easy. It's not easy for us. It's not easy for the landscaper down the street or the guy who fixes, cars, whatever it is. But being an entrepreneur is definitely challenging. As the economy changes, you're faced with different ups and downs all the time. And when you have a challenging customer, it can be even harder. So, we've kind of stayed in this mindset that this is the landscape that we've chosen to be in for almost 20 years, 19 years now we're going on. And to fight it and to be negative about it does nothing for our team. It does nothing for our business. It does nothing for our mindset. And it certainly doesn't contribute to any type of success. So I think the overall, slicker kind of outlook is our culture. It's the honesty, integrity, and commitment to people. And it's to all people, our customer, our employees, to each other, to our managers. So I think, there's a lot, but from an overarching, I don't think it's any different than any other business. But we do have a challenging customer, and their customers. Yeah. Our customers are super challenging.
Yeah.
So it's definitely got its own dynamic twist. But I think staying positive and being committed to what you've agreed to in the contract will definitely keep you on track.
If I go to a Facebook group right now, and I know a few of them, it really can look like the world is burning down. So why do you think that is? Do you think it's different than other communities? Or do you think it's the same as on any entrepreneur?
It's easier to be negative than positive, right?
Yeah.
So we as leaders of our team, we have to lead by example. So if we went into those groups and made negative comments, our drivers would probably see it.
Yeah.
So they'd say, hey, if they're miserable, why should we go in and be positive? So when we go in and we lead the team, lead the managers, kind of lead everybody, lead by example, then it's contagious.
Yeah.
And if you see someone that's negative, kind of just intercept it, or sometimes you can't ignore it. You have to just address it and say, we need you to kind of shape up.
Yeah.
We can't have it here because it's toxic.
Yeah.
And
those Facebook groups, though, I think it's culture. I think it's, Facebook in general is more geared towards tragedy and shock and awe and negativity and failure. Just in general, especially on these like community pages, you have like mom and dads discuss it, and, these city pages, and even, during COVID, there were like all these dine out pages that were like, this place sucks and this place is terrible. And so you get that in FedEx. There's several, we're part of several contractor groups, line haul groups, P&D groups, even driver groups that we are in. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I hate this job and I hate this. And, they're stealing my routes and we're failing and they're taking this from us. And all of these things are happening. And I am just, in awe. And we try to combat that a little bit and get involved and say like, hey, how can we help? Or what's happening? Or, maybe it's your contractor. Have you talked to your contractor? If you're a dissatisfied employee, like have you had the or do you just not like lifting heavy boxes? Because that's a thing too.
Yeah, that's real.
We've had some really great employees that are fantastic people, love us, love what we do, don't want to deliver heavy boxes anymore. can't help that. That one, we're going to have to come to a meeting of the minds and figure out how that looks, and we do have bulk trucks. So we've tried to solve it but we can't make it perfect. I don't like to drive is one that I heard the other day. That's going to make it tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one
for what we do.
driver.
So there's a difference between complaining because you're complaining and true things that are broken that could be fixed. Now, is there a contractor that's underpaying? Is there a contractor that, may be struggling himself and doesn't know how to fix it? Those things are very real and they do trickle down to your employees. So I think from a positivity message, you have to realize that if you are negative, you're going to breed negativity, and that is going to contribute to ultimate failure. Because if people don't trust you that you have a plan, and even if it's a tough place, whether you're going through some hiring or whatever that means for changes, if you don't hold that positivity together, they're certainly not going to follow in step. So I think that's one of them. And then from the contractor standpoint, the contractor pages where I've been in for a year and I don't know, they just came and did this to me. I'm like, they didn't just come and do that to you. We, I think we've talked about this a couple times. We get communications from our customer every single day. We have access to the new Spotlight portal, to the DSW, to metals. We are constantly, almost too much so, I think, sometimes. We have access to real-time data. We have access to historical data. And at every terminal, our line haul managers are meeting with line haul executives at the terminal level. We're having QA clerks and service, terminal assistants and all these terminal managers coming to you every single day with service mail and questions and what happened to this box and why did you do this and hey dude, the accident or whatever it is. Like, these aren't things that just happened to you, right? Like, these things you kind of knew. FedEx gives you quite a few opportunities, curative action, letters of assurance. They give you plenty of opportunity to fix it and make it better. The question is, what do you do when that happens? Do you dig your heels in and say it's the big guy against me? Or do you say, hey, I got to get my stuff together and get this fixed? So it's all about mindset. And I do agree that it's not easy, right? And it's not perfect. And we don't live in, Dave and I don't, even after the length of time we've been in all the different industries, we don't have it all together. We're constantly learning, we're constantly changing and evolving with the new tools and the new requirements, and even the new employee base that's out there, the hireable pool of people have changed. Even since COVID in 2023, things have just changed with how you run your business. Can you be negative? Sure. We run a pizza shop. It's not easy. Same challenges, different industry. Same difficult customers, different industry. So being an entrepreneur is what you've signed up for. So I think a lot of that is just, kind of dig in. And there are going to be times where it is against you, right? Where the odds are all against you and things are tough and you're not quite sure what to do. But I think that's when you lean into places like Route Consultant. You learn and you lean into other contractors. I have contractors emailing us directly through you guys once, twice a week, just like, hey, have you seen this? How do you make it better? Those are things like, that's what this community should be. That's what FedEx, these Facebook groups should be, is contractors helping each other, asking intentionally important questions, not just complaining about what happened, right? And there's a way to ask a question about what's going on that's not, this sucks, everything sucks, we suck, the network sucks, I don't want to do this anymore, because that's true too. It can happen. You can get to a place where you're just cashed out and you don't want to do this anymore. But there's a graceful way to exit. There's ways to sell. There's ways to provide opportunity to new people. But I think that's, at the end of the day, 2.0, that's the big one that's on everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is going to ruin my business. We love it. It's different. Not the same, not harder, different, but you have to lean in and embrace it. Nothing's going to stay the same, no matter what, no matter if you're a tree trimmer or, or an accountant on your own business, nothing's going to stay the same.
Yeah.
And,
so, that's how I think about the Facebook groups too, is that this is not an easy industry. It's not an easy job. And in some ways it's really isolating because you feel like you're the entrepreneur alone. And these types of groups, events that you can go to and talk and learn from others is a amazing venue to say, here's my problem. Has anyone else solved it?
Yeah.
Or here's the way I'm trying to solve it. Has anyone tried and it failed? Can you save me a few months as I'm trying to figure this out? And I think it's such a great tool for things like that, where that's not a blind saying everything's beautiful, it's all sunshines and rainbows, there's no problems. It's a way to say, here are my problems.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a way to help me? And I think we can do that all day. But if you say, here are my problems, everything sucks. And that's, you're not even looking for a solution.
Yeah.
You're just looking for a venting platform.
Well,
is
and
when
they're
it's
out
not
and they're
productive.
out to get me, right?
Yeah.
That's the big one that we hear. And to understand, and we've talked a little bit about this, that relationship between FedEx and the contract, what we sign, and our employees. Remember what you agreed to.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that there are things that you said, okay, I want to do this. So
Yeah.
you can't then hold it against someone when you don't do it well, or when they're coming down on you for not doing it at all.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's something that we all agreed to. Dave and I wouldn't change it. It's provided opportunity for over almost 200 people now, and their families. And it's one of the things that, from a positivity standpoint, Dave and I can sit back and say, this is something that we've built. Slicker Trucking is what we've built through FedEx, and we can offer opportunity for people to raise a family, buy a home, buy a new car, pay their bills, whatever that looks like. And it does get, the finances get tight sometimes. And based on economy, fuel goes up 10 cents. And when you're a contractor our size, it can change the game quite a bit in just 1 week, when it just goes up a mere 10 cents. So when there's an economic change, it does hurt. But I always made a comment. I said, the farmer doesn't scorn the land in a drought.
Yeah.
It's what they chose,
Yeah.
right? This is a career that they chose. And there are going to be dry seasons, and there's going to be flourishing seasons. But you got to get creative also, right?
Yeah.
So if there's something that you can do, maybe the BC needs to jump back in a truck. But those are conversations that you have to say, hey, man, like we're struggling here a little bit financially, and I need to make sure that the trucks are maintained. So you might need to jump in a truck. It's not ideal. It's not what I hired you to do, but we want to be here in 6 months.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
Yeah.
So getting creative, talking with your team, staying, and I think burying it down and pretending that everything's good.
Yeah.
We have contractors all the time that will gouge wages. They'll offer these huge wages because they are struggling and they just need people to show up instead of having those hard conversations. And contractors like Slicker, like Dave and I, we can help walk you through what that looks like in a better way, right? To get through it in a smarter or better way that we've already been through the pain. Let us help, or let other contractors help, but ask the questions before it gets to that point. I think you made a comment the other day that it was like, someone was like, hey, they're taking my contract tomorrow. Like, what? Like, that didn't happen yesterday.
Yeah.
So let's get ahead of it and let's stay positive.
Yep.
And positivity is going to breed better delivery quality, which is going to breed more volume and new customers. And I think that's a piece that sometimes contractors lose sight of also, is if you're negative, then your service is going to be negative and your attitudes, and that's going to lose customers. And if you're in Montana, you're taking my money. Like, I want you to help. Like, we're all in this together. So if there's 10 contractors in Montana that hate to be here, that's going to feel like that at Chewy, right?
Yeah.
Chewy's going to see that, and they're going to be like, well, we can't just not serve Montana.
Yeah.
So sorry, Amy, there's all your volume. And if, we can, complain about Chewy all we want, but it pays the bills.
Nobody likes carrying those bags,
correct.
but-
It's paying the bills. So,
Yeah.
along with all the other, customers that FedEx has brought to us as a reminder, right? We don't have to go do that. So that's a really big positive and a really big reward that we don't have to go out and find business. I know every day when my guys show up that there's going to be boxes to deliver.
Yeah.
So it's really about that mindset.
Yeah. And think back over all the years, you've seen a bunch of different versions of FedEx over the years and a bunch of different challenges and pains as FedEx made various transitions. Do you think this is the hardest time to run the business, or is this a time that it's fair to say that it is difficult? How would you kind of rank this over the years of your FedEx experience?
It's difficult, but it's not the most difficult we've seen. We've seen some really tough times over the years, but it's good too. It's what you make of it, right? We have to adjust. You have to make changes. You can't be.
Yeah.
If you don't change, then you'll be out of business.
Yeah.
So as the industry changes, we change. We have to adapt, right? Everything's kind of coming down the pipeline, but we enjoy it. So we know what we need to do. We have to evolve. We have to keep making the moves, and just keep rolling with it.
I think we've seen that over the years as these things happen, it's constantly the people who are able to adapt and change that survive the next wave of change and in a lot of ways flourish. You know, I think we can see it from y'all's story of how you've grown over the years and taken opportunities. But I also know that in the network now, there are many people struggling, but there are also people getting a lot of opportunities to grow as they adapt and change with FedEx.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's that leaning in that we talk about. You have to embrace the change. It's in the contract, right? We go back to that. Like, you agreed to be here. You agreed to these things.
Yeah.
And you can agree not to. Yeah. You get an 18-month or a year contract. You can very much choose to do what you'd like with it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, the idea is that you stay here.
Yeah.
That you build a business and that your people can build, you know, relationships and have a career path and all these things. So I think the tool set, I don't think it's more difficult. I think there's more moving parts today than there were, you know, when Dave was one guy, one truck. You know, the way that they penalized us for missed deliveries or damaged packages, like, things were way different. The way that you even got in to be a contractor was way different. The way you could finance trucks. So there's positives and negatives, right? There's way more things today that we have to do to service a customer than we did, you know, 18 years ago. But I don't think there's a business out there today that hasn't happened to.
Yeah.
In any industry, from, like I said, pizza to accounting, there are more guidelines, there's more regulations today, there's more expectation. Customers have that immediate expectation, so they are demanding the communication. So it's a double-edged sword. Yes, PPOD and ride and rating your package. This is the norm. We had to follow suit. Is it more? Yes. Is it more difficult? Difficult? Nah. Pain in the neck, because it's like one more thing yet we have to do. So instead of just delivering the box and saying, like, thanks, lady, right, it's scanning it and coding it and putting the sticker on the door and, you know, taking a picture and smiling and avoiding the dogs, you know. So yes, there are a lot of different parts to it today. But I don't think if you were in any other industry, you know, that you wouldn't be in that position 18 years later. Yeah. So I don't think from an expectation standpoint of a business today, it's, you know, unreasonable.
And all those little things give you data that enable you to make better decisions, both for your business and to know what your employees are doing. Are they putting the packages in the right place? You get those Vetter camera and all of that data to actually, hopefully, get ahead of bad habits before it's an accident. There's all those little things that are annoying, but also give you the benefit of being potentially able to better run your business. So it's the pros and cons of technology and advancement and data.
What was the conversation when we first started Better, right? My employees and their personal rights and all these things. And I think Dave talks about it all the time when you talk about it. Gets us out of more jams.
Yeah, it's helped us more than it's hurt us. We can... I don't watch. I don't listen to conversations. I don't have time to. So that's the least of my concerns.
Yeah.
When I need it, I pull it, or I do audits, and I can monitor, and we can fix bad behaviors, or even just pick up on bad behaviors. We can fix delivery processes. It's just so beneficial.
Get our guys out of jams when they're like, hey, your guy made this ditch.
Yes.
I'm like, he wasn't even, like, he delivered, he didn't even go in the driveway.
And the Vetter could be a negative. We're talking negatives and positives. The Vetter could be looked at as a negative thing, but really, we look at it on the positive side. It's been so positive for us in so many different situations that would have maybe turned out a little differently because the bigger truck is always the guilty truck. So it's helped us so much. Now, sometimes it gets us, right? It happens. But for the most part, the positivity of it and the training and just the access that we have to it that we didn't have 18 years ago. Yeah. Right? So it was my word against the other driver's word. So it's definitely a game changer. But it's all about how you look at it. If you look at it in the positivity, it's great. You could be negative about it and just complain about it all the time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, this isn't a situation. I think it's just what we're talking about. Like when we talk about staying positive, it's not about putting blinders on.
Right.
It's about looking at what you're doing and finding the right way forward and keeping kind of the end goal in mind and not kind of stewing on the negatives and the challenges. But, you guys are in situations all the time where, maybe your contract is trending towards a more negative score, or you've got a driver that's done something ridiculous in the day and you have to decide if you're going to keep them or let them go. There's all kinds of things that happen. So in those moments, maybe it's not a moment, maybe it's months.
Yeah.
How do you stay positive? What are the things that you guys do to center, to ground yourself and kind of keep your vision on that future?
Go to church on Sundays.
We do go to church on
Besides
Sundays.
go to church on Sundays.
It's a good reset for
Yeah.
us. I think the big thing is staying in communication with your management team and communicating a plan to your leads and your drivers. Whether, with us, it was volume at peak. Our peak numbers were higher than we had ever expected, which is awesome, right? Like, whoa,
Theoretically, yeah.
like really great thing. But when you're not prepared for it, it was shocking, right? So we had overhired, and didn't get to use those overhires. We were going to help in contingency, help our neighbors, and we ended up using all those people for us. And then it went to weather. So these guys are getting beat over the head with boxes and large boxes at Christmas. And then they immediately came into days where we didn't have trailers. And then the next day we were hit with double the trailers, or they were you're trying to catch up volume. And it was this, and the weather was -12 in Ohio. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. And it is hard to stay positive, but it's a moment. Right? So we go there and we say, hey guys, don't forget when it's 85 degrees, you got 120 and music's blaring and you're like in just a great mood. Like, let's not lose sight of what we do. This is Ohio. Every single one of us has chosen to work in Ohio. Every single one of us has chosen to work for FedEx, right? To do this, like to be a FedEx delivery person, we work for Slicker. Like, we hope that we can be the spring between like that sponge and absorb kind of the headache between either what the customer's asking for us or your local customer's asking for us or the dogs that are en route or the size of the boxes. Like, that's our job. So we have to keep our management focused like that. And it's hard when your BCs are in a truck every day, and if that's not your intention, by the way. So if your managers are not supposed to be in a truck, it goes sideways pretty quickly. So you have to communicate with them that we are hiring, or we are make them part of the process so that they see that there's an end result. We've actually had recently, because of the communication and because we share so much about direction and things that we're doing, we have BCs that are like, please don't save that person. Like, if they quit, if you can just accept their 2 weeks, that would be great. And I'm like, yeah, but you need those stops done and they're a safe driver. And they're like, yeah, but they're terrible for our team. And once you flip that switch where your managers and drivers see that it's going to be a little bit bumpy, but it's better, right? They can help you and they can get behind you, and it's just such a cool thing. We have people that everyone says that I'm like the second chance queen. If somebody leaves or something happens, I'm like, well, they're like, can we please come back? I really need a job. And I'm like, well, of course you can. And I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, well, hang on a second. So then we dig up like how the person left or what their service was or what their accident history was, and then have a conversation about that. But a lot of times we bring people in, and I've had drivers say, do not bring them back. I will do that route. Like, I will do my route and their route. So I don't want them to, and we won't make them do that. But the point is that mentality shift has changed. That buy-in to culture and making this a better place is, I would rather work harder than have someone damage what we have here. And I think if the big point of that, and that can be a kumbaya, I know everybody's like, yeah, right. But the point is that if you can get a little bit of that at your senior level, right, as AOs and as your executive team, you are setting that pace. So if I'm setting that tone, then that's what my people are going to follow suit with. If I come in and I'm like, FedEx did this and the customer did that and this shipper and we have all these boxes and then we got another 2:00 pickup, and you're screaming about those things, that is what your employees are going to feel. And then that is what you're going to breed. And then it's never going to get better. But there are times, I mean, we've been in contracts where there's been mass walkout. not from us, but like 3 or 4 people just decide, leave, no notice. Like that's a tough moment. It's a really tough moment, and it could sink you, especially if you don't have any backups and you don't have a big contract where you can pull resources. So it doesn't, again, we're not saying everything's perfect, but there is a way through it. And even there's been times where we've been short on staffing. We've committed to a growth area, and the staffing it just wasn't there at that time on Indeed or wherever we were looking. So you have to have a conversation, but it is all about conversations. Like, I'm not planning to service my contract like this. But what does that look like? Instead of just saying, you're screwing me, you're sticking it to me, having that conversation with the terminal and just kind of falling on the sword and saying, I'm not my best version of me today, but I got to hold it together for my team. This is our plan. We're going to get there. I think that's helped us through every little bump and bruise that we've had is to stay ahead of it. We've hired a bunch of new people with a growth area. We're going to have more accidents and incidents, right? It's just new people. It's just historically proven. Service is going to struggle a little bit because they don't 100% know what they're doing, right? Versus a contract, like we have another contract that the tenure is more of 4 or 5 years, right? So you have 4 or 5 new people in one contract. Something's going to give.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah, something's going to happen. The likelihood of something happening. So what does that look like? And if you have that conversation with your terminal, when they see it, they're not like, what is happening to Slicker? Right? Like, what? Oh, my gosh. What happened? You're 99 and now you're 99. Oh, like, oh, my gosh. Like, oh, we get it. It's going to be bumpy for a few more weeks until everybody settles in. And we put extra, precautions in place and checkpoints. But things are going to happen.
Yeah, it really does seem like it has to be the top-down culture that you have to build and communicate. And sometimes that is hard. So it's whatever you need to do to recenter yourself. So church on Sunday, I'm glad you didn't say drink to forget on Sunday. So whatever it is though, like there needs to be a way for you to find an outlet or someone you can talk to or some way for you to continue to recenter yourself, because whatever you bring to your culture and your team is what they're going to see and feel, and it's going to trickle through. So it does have to be something that, as much as you can, you need to set, because it's
the contractors you surround yourself with, right? Like that was a big thing for us, is to identify in the early stages of our business that we were very competitive versus the contractor next to us, right? And really the only thing we're competing over is people. I have a zip code, right? Dave's, like, we have, like, it's our area. I'm not fighting with you over boxes anymore. I'm not fighting with you over trucks. I'm not fighting, like, we're not arguing, right? So why can't we be in community? So surround yourself with contractors that want to be here and want to do good, right? So that's the idea. And try to stay away from, I go on Facebook sometimes and I see the complaints and I just kind of giggle to myself, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, is it that is it that bad? Like, I want to give you a hug. Like, that's terrible.
I know.
But you're right. But it can suck you in. And even for new investors, they're like, well, this was supposed to be a great space, and that's terrible. And I'm like, oh, you don't even know that guy. Like, I know that guy. You don't want to be near that guy, right? But there is, like, you don't, if it's that bad, you need to make a way through. And you need to have a real conversation with yourself as whether this is the space for you, truly. And if you can surround yourself with people to make it what you thought it was in the beginning and get back there. And I think there are more of the contractors that want to be here than not. So I think that's the positive side, is to center yourself and find a group of people that you can lift up. I think Dave's got a group on Wednesday that he talks to. It's kind of a church-based group, but they're all contractors and they share, hiccups and headaches, but because it's faith-based, it's more in a positive direction as well. But it's just aligning yourself with, it doesn't have to be church-based. But the point is that we've aligned ourselves with other contractors that think like us, so that we can lift each other up when things are struggling. We can help each other through employee matters or business matters, or even new questions about new technology and processes, whatever it is. But there is a positive way through all of this.
And I think that's ultimately the message is, this is a business where you are an entrepreneur, and it's going to be hard. And there's going to be times that are harder or easier, but at the end of the day, it's not an easy business by any stretch of the imagination. But there is a way forward, and there are things you can do as an entrepreneur, as an owner, as a contractor in this space to work through solutions by talking to other people who've been there before, who are struggling through it now, working together and finding that right path forward. And I think that's ultimately where I want to leave it, where this is a conversation and it's an ongoing conversation in this space. And I want it to be an ongoing conversation. It's not something where we think, complaints or dissonance should be shut down. But I do really want to continue to foster that idea that you all bring of, hey, this is a challenge. Let's lift each other up, get over this wall together. Sometimes I might be lifting you, sometimes you might be pulling me, but let's see what we can do to get over this wall so that we can be successful.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're all in the same industry, and,
Right.
and we want to find a way together.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So
Yeah.
perfect. All right. Well, thank
Awesome.
you guys very much
Thanks
for
for
kind of
having
talking
us on
through
this
Thank
one.
you.
You got it.
Yeah.